Here to talk to you about the Festival of the Veneralia. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Emmy. Today we're going to be making some treats. The marble board is out, it's prepped, it's clean. We're going to be making Aphrodite's apple roses. It is a recipe from friend, colleague Angelica Crashi. Her whole jam is baking for the gods. The Festival of the Veneralia is approaching. I want to take some time to make some treats and also to talk to you all about one of my favorite festivals. It is one that, like many ancient festivals, has odd origins, but the ritual itself, I think, is very lovely. I am Venus ruled astrologically, so there's also that layer of feeling a natural affinity for what it embodies. So that's what we'll be doing here today. I have my trusty iPhone ready for capturing B-roll because I realize that y'all can only see so much. Otherwise, I will link the recipe that you could find on her Substack. It's also available on her IG. Note, I am a gluten-free girly, so I do have a gluten-free puff pastry that I'll be using. Otherwise, it's very simple. It is 2 store-bought puff pastry sheets, about 3 large apples, and then some apple butter. I was able to find an apple butter that does not have any added sugar. It's just the sugar that would naturally come from the apple itself. It's quite tasty. There's also an icing that goes on top. Ooh. It's fun. It's very, very simple. I love how accessible it is if you are somebody who gets very anxious about baking things because you want to reduce the margin of error. There being so few ingredients, I feel like it ends up making it easier just to try it out. But let's dive right in. I got my recipe. I have my notes. So, alrighty. The Festival of the Veneralia is a Romanized festival. Has, like many things, some political leadings like tied in. I realized I'd never cored an apple until now. This is a moment. We're having a moment together. Is this how we core? No, that's not it. Hey. Wow, we did that, everybody. Yeah. A few things to keep in mind too. In ancient Rome, their year began with spring, which that is also something that I know a lot of astrological people also really resonate with, that the real beginning of the new year is not January 1st, the Gregorian calendar. A lot of us that have cold weather are like, the beginning of the new year cannot begin in the dark. But also that's kind of beautiful in its own right. But I digress. In ancient Rome, the year would begin with the month of Martius, and then would be followed by the month of Aprilis. So March, April. Come on, buddy. Don't fight me. Pour the apple. Yes. Another fun fact, that days of the month did not have numbers. So the day that Veneralia falls on is what is called Calende Aprilis, which is essentially their way of saying the first of the month, because it comes from the Latin culare, which means to announce. So it's proclaiming the beginning of a new month, which I like a hear ye moment. Okay, so we've cored the apples. We did that thing. I forgot what else I'm supposed to do already. This is ADHD baking. So you core apple and you slice in half. The Veneralia is all about commemorating, venerating the deity Venus Verticordia, or Venus, the changer of hearts. There's also another figure that is called Fortuna Virilis, which is another feature of Veneralia. The cult of Venus was established in 220 BC. That is per the Sibylline Oracle. This was right around a war, so it was the beginning of the Second Punic War. It was essentially some advice from this oracle. The Sibylline Oracle, or the Oracula Sibyllina, these are a collection of these channeled messages, these utterances. They would be written in Greek hexameter, and they were ascribed by the Sibyls. It's a divine proclamation in a sense, and they would be delivering these messages in a frenzied state. Oh, I did not core this right at all. I very much missed it. Well, that was annoying, but that's okay. We do our best here. It's okay. I cut around. Yeah, it's like I didn't do anything wrong because I've never cored an apple before in my life. I am Latin. I am Puerto Rican. We did not have an apple core. This is not a thing that was in my household. Anyway, actually, I should also preheat at 400 or 375. 400. I'll do 400. Cut, paste, no, I can't do that yet. ADHD, cut very thin, half moon shaped slices. Not too thin, not too thick. We don't want them to break, but we want them to be thin enough to see through. Cool. Yeah, I feel like that's too thick. I like to think that my knife skills are better than Selena Gomez, but they probably aren't. Hey, Bean.
Yeah.
Can you watch me do the half slices because you did them last time? So like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like this thin?
Okay.
This is very hard.
I know, but you'll get it.
We'll see.
Do you want help?
Gotta do it for the movie.
Okay. Do you want my hands to do it on the movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So while my wonderful husband uses his great knife skills, I will explain so we don't stay here all night. Basically, there was concern about the sexual indiscretion of people at the time across the board. So it went through every category in class. This, of course, it came from several men and 3 Vestal virgins. That tells you plenty. The fact that there's the religious element, Vestal virgins, they did have their own authority and they could speak to situations like this when they felt that people were straying from the desired way of being. The fact that it's several men also tells you plenty that there's both the political, religious aspect, but also maybe they felt like people weren't having sex with them, in which case they wanted to then control the outcome. That's where we ended up getting that layer of the festival. This came through as a series of prodigies. These were a type of auspicia oblativa. This was thrusted upon people. It's not that people were going to the oracles and were asking, hey, what should I know? How should I conduct myself differently? It was more that people would walk down the street and they'd say, you need to not have so much sex and you should purify yourself. Things like that. It couldn't just be that you could thrust any perspective at people willy-nilly. It had to be somewhat controlled. There were these series of rites that could be done to ensure things were indeed genuine proclamations, were indeed channeled messages that could be verified through ritual. There was a way to have pontiffs and augurs essentially vet anything. A number of these prodigies were happening. I noted initially that the Punic Wars were going on, and there were a lot of prodigies at the time, and the Senate dealt with an unprecedented number. Again, there was a big desire to rein people in, a lot of concern about people acting out during the pre-war and then war times. Just another reason for Veneralia to have a kind of come up moment. So what happened from here where we really get the creation itself of Veneralia? We have our statue that was originally purified by a young woman that was chosen as the most boudica, or sexually pure. That was done by a committee of Roman matrons. We don't know necessarily everything in detail about what happened during that hearing, but again, it being selected by a group of Roman moms is quite a thing to conceive of. But yeah, at first, the statue of Venus Verticordia was housed within the temple of Fortuna Virilis. This wasn't uncommon. If we even look at the ancient Greek world, it was pretty common to have up to 2 deities represented in a single temple. It really wouldn't surpass maybe 3. The thing too is like the cult of Fortuna Virilis is actually older than the cult of the Venus Verticordia, but there was concerns about this at the time as well, because many perceived this to be the bad seed, that the cult had gone weak in some way. What likely was the case is this group of men and then the Vestal Virgins were like this group of women that are a part of this cult are all the ones acting out. If we're putting 2 and 2 together, it's all speculation. We only know what we know, but that's my thought. But yeah, there's the concern that maybe they would benefit from a bit more moral and religious support of Venus. Using the introduction of Venus into this temple would help create a new way for everybody. That ripple effect. Venus was a newer deity. Really, her purification aspects, her being the changer of hearts, was something that was considered very, very attractive to folks at the time. With Fortuna Virilis, fun thing, because I know it sounds familiar, she is the Romanized version of the goddess Tyche. Even though she is ultimately for women as far as cults go, her name translates in Roman to virile or manly. So I think that's the other layer of concern, is that there are some people who are maybe acting out. With her being Romanized from Tyche, that's the goddess of fate. She is the daughter of the Titans Thetis and Oceanus, so bringing positive messages, ultimately helping to exert one's will, because one of her epithets is automatia, she who does what she will. So there is, I think, a little bit of a divergence that happened, because Tyche still had an air of respectability. There may have been a few changes made along the way as far as Fortuna Virilis, to go from she who does what she will as a matter of fate and luck to virile and manly. It probably says a lot about what may have been going on at the time. There's not much to dislike about Tyche herself. Oh, what a professional. Amazing. Going to pause on talking about the festival so that I can get these right. What comes next is, now that they have all been very beautifully sliced by my husband, because I have Selena Gomez's knife skills, we do not have a microwave. It is in the breakdown to microwave the apple slices, but we're not. It sounds like a personal judgment. Like we decided to be microwaveless people. We just don't have one. It's not that we're trying to be crunchy. The recipe says you put slices in a microwave safe bowl, microwave for about a minute or until soft and pliable. I Googled that if you are using a toaster oven, that you need to do it like times 5. It's about 5 minutes. I'll say 4. We have a very good toaster oven, so I'm just like, I don't know. You pop these in the oven. I think it's probably safe to put them in that full time. I think I did it longer last time, and then it was overcooked. I'll say 4.5. No, 5, 4, 5. I'll just say the 5. I'll trust the internet today. And if it goes wrong, then you'll know better. So these are now nice and warm. They are indeed more pliable, flimsy. 5 minutes was just right. Live and learn in the life and times of being microwaveless. So I'll park these. I need a spoon, sharp, away from me so I don't stab myself. Party. Spoon and knife, because I struggled with spreading last time. Maybe I just need both. I don't know. This puff pastry is a revelation. The fact that it is gluten-free. It was crispy. There are certain things that people are like, what do you mess about being gluten-free? They assume it's pizza. And I'm like, gluten-free pizza is like fine. It's not even like baguettes either, because I've been able to find a gluten-free baguette. It's puff pastry. It's the things that have the crunch. So we roll this out real nice. 1-inch thick strips. I got about 5 out of the standard size of the sheet. I got about 10 roses out of it. So let's see what happens. I think I could have gone thinner when I made it last time. I worry. Again, gluten-free baking. You're like, I don't know if I could trust you. I have been hurt before. And I don't want to be hurt again is my feeling. While I'm rolling, let's chat about what happened in the festival itself. Men and women would take this moment to take her cult image away. The cult image was taken from her temple to the men's baths. And that's where the cult image was then addressed, and then they would wash her in warm water. And that was done by the female attendants in this otherwise male space. And then from there, they would do other ritual purification kind of things as a way of both honoring and also purifying. That would include garlanding in myrtle, using those sacred properties, those correspondences that are true of Venus. So that would be called upon for the rite. It was pretty common during the Veneralia, because it was honored by both men and women, for folks to ask the Venus Verticordia for her help, for her blessing, and all matters of the heart. So affairs of the heart, things related to sex, betrothal, marriage. This was all about offering her flowers, both literally and figuratively, wanting to give her her due as a means of purifying themselves and ensuring that they also were getting what they needed as far as love. I'm not used to talking and rolling at the same time. It was essentially a means of offering a little something to cleanse her, and as a means to cleanse themselves as well, because ritual bathing is perhaps the biggest aspect of the Veneralia in terms of the actions involved. I'm trying to get this thinner than last time. Ritual bathing was not just a means of getting the body physically clean. There was also the layer of different oils and herbs being used to help to infuse the water, to really make it about purifying oneself, and also as another means of endearing themselves to Venus Verticordia. And any flower wreaths that were brought forward on the Veneralia would be brought home. So it wasn't just that they were strictly an offering to be made separately and then that was all she wrote. It was a means of keeping them within proximity so then they could continue to get as much positive favor from Venus Verticordia as possible. And I know offerings, when we conceive of them as modern people, we're maybe unaware of how this would function in the ancient world and ancient religion. It wasn't always about what you would give, it's ultimately what you would do, which we know with Greek religion, there's the term orthopraxy, so it's about right action, not necessarily right belief. So that's where we have that extending into the Romanized Veneralia. It's about doing these right things, committing yourself to these purifying actions. It's not strictly just about one set thing, although it is still, of course, significant that we spend that time cleansing and purifying the cult image. That's a way of evoking, but the way that we are going about cleansing and purifying ourselves in this ancient context, I think really helps to drive home that it is about evoking her, but it's also about getting the outcomes that we're wanting. It's that reciprocity that we see that's pretty characteristic of these pagan ancient religions. In terms of Fortuna Virilis' role in the Veneralia, even though this initially took place in her temple, it had kind of a smaller role by comparison. But even then, she's still an important part of what made the Veneralia the Veneralia. She had the power to help conceal women's physical imperfections from the eyes of men. And so during the Veneralia, she would be offered incense. Incense being something that would be characteristic of what you'd offer a deity back then. And also, it was a way to physically embody that sympathetic magic of that illusory effect that she was helping women have. It's rough out there, and so many people feel, even to this day, like they're less than. We worry if we have too many imperfections or whatever it might be. There's just so many things that I know we can be so hard on ourselves. Women did what they could in this festival to feel like they could gain an upper hand without having to resort to actual body modification. Everything changes, but so many things stay the same. So yeah, she would receive an offering of incense. These more elaborate things that we would do around the Veneralia were reserved for Venus Verticordia. Okay. So it got it kind of lumpy, but it's also because I'm using a French rolling pin. So there's also that. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. I can call on Fortuna to make it so nobody sees this. You see how I made that work? There you go. That feels a little better. So I still got a little wonky on me. Sneaked out. Is this good content? Like and subscribe. Tell everyone that you loved it here. Yeah. Pretty good, I think. I don't know. Slightly less wonky. Looks kind of like a South Park character right now, but that doesn't matter. It's about it being yummy. That's what matters. And it is. It'll be worth it. So after these purification rites, after the ritual bathing, people would do what you would typically imagine when we think about ancient festivals. There's a lot of food, drink, dancing, and that is so appropriate. You spend all this time getting purified. You're covered in different herbs and florals and other good smelling things. And you also have been petitioning both Venus Verticordia, the changer of hearts, and Fortuna Virilis, who's helping to obscure any part of you that feels like you are less than unconfident. You would go and take advantage of that fresh energy. You would go and shoot your shot with other people. It would make sense after petitioning all day that you'd want to go and then maximize it, seal in the intention. Again, it was for everyone. I know that there are some who say that Fortuna was not acknowledged by rich people who would observe the Veneralia. And that goes back to that Manly translation epitaph. It goes back to there being those concerns about this cult bad seed kind of thing. One rotten apple, the whole thing is poisoned kind of deal. There were some who believe that rich people would only observe Venus Verticordia, would only go to honor her. Either way, married, unmarried, the whole point is that they really wanted for there to be a festival that focused on sexual propriety, all that to both please the gods, as they said, as was the case from the Sibyl Oracle, the prodigies, and also, of course, it was the interest of the state because they wanted people to be doing things the right way. They wanted people to be behaving during a time where there's conflict And again, a concern that there was like a dip in morale. Oh, hit my goal on my move ring, which is funny. I'm really gesticulating a lot. It's funny to think about how it took from the founding of the Veneralia all the way to the creation of her own temple. It wasn't until 114 BC that there was a separate temple that was erected for Venus Verticordia. That's a good 106 years from her being recognized, the acknowledgement of that particular epitaph, that particular aspect of Venus. Very curious that it took a little bit longer from the establishment of her cult until the creation of her temple. I am going to just focus now on slicing because I think it's probably the best I can do. 1 inch thick strips. I got about 5 out of store-bought puff pastry. Could I get it thinner then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, no. Yeah, no. Yeah. I believe in me. I believe in me, and I believe in you. I believe you too can make this. I'm gonna go a little bit more even Steven around one more time. 1 inch. And then that's about down the middle. What we do is we add apple butter to one side. And the other part is where you roll it to look like a rose. Yeah, I'm eyeballing how much apple butter to add because that is how I do. Yeehaw. Wow, amazing. That is something. Apple butter. Tangy. You lay up high and then you make your way up. Giving yourself a little slack is what I found helpful for helping it roll more nicely. I'm gonna try to make them even thinner. I can roll out the other one even thinner. We are learning. We're doing this together. And again, it might be a limitation of the gluten-free puff pastry because yeah, that could just be how that goes. I only have a little bit of time left on this battery. So what I'll do is I will fast forward. I'll give you all the B-roll, add some fun music. We only have 14 minutes left. So I won't squander the A-roll while I have it. All right, so I wanted to take a few because I think it was ultimately not the right idea to put them all together in one pan. I think the butter ended up doing a thing. They just ended up not crisping quite the same way. Lesson learned, definitely give them space to aerate. These are the ones that are at the best doneness. Just wanting to kind of still have some closure here. So then we could at least know that, okay, these are done. And then I could also just enjoy some a little bit sooner. I have made a glaze. The glaze that she has worked up is powdered sugar, vanilla extract, and milk. I ended up adding a smidgen of lemon because I really wanted to perk it up a little bit, cut the sweetness because I'm not necessarily like somebody who loves like sweet. These are pretty crispy. It did what it wanted to do at the end. I think that the glaze does help keep it all well preserved too. It's a lot of natural ingredient and whatnot. So these are Aphrodite's apple roses. They are yummy, even though I can't make anything pretty. I think I'll keep tinkering with it. I'll figure it out. I have to be patient with it because again, there's a lot that's working against you when it's gluten-free puff pastry, even though it is very good quality puff pastry that I'm using. After learning a little bit about the Veneralia, if you want to participate in a modern version, I'll be hosting a ritual. That'll be my second time hosting a Veneralia ritual. This will have a bit more of a narrative magic focus, really focusing on where you're wanting to draw in all of the matters of the heart, sensuality, things of that nature. And there is still a purification element, but there won't be the dogma, there won't be all of the concerns about propriety. It'll be absent all of the influence of the Vestal Virgins, but still retaining the elements that I think are ultimately lovely and wonderful and fun about Veneralia. There's the beautiful timing of it all. I will be hosting this ritual on Monday, March 30th. That is also when Venus enters Taurus, where she loves to be. I do think that there is a lot of benefit taking advantage of this time, offering our modern take, just using this as an opportunity to shed some of that winter-ish, have a fresh start, let yourself claim and name what it is that you're wanting to bring in, whether it's that you're wanting to draw in a partner, if you're wanting to focus on having more aligned relationships in general. As modern pagans, we can make things our own. Don't feel limited by one thing or another. I do want to take a moment to thank my patrons for sponsoring this video. I want to thank Georgia, Karina, Jess, Laura, The Wowls, and Mallow. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe. Let me know if you end up trying out this recipe. I hope they look better than mine do. They're still tasty, but it's the nature of the beast. Let me know if you were new to the Veneralia, and I hope that you all are able to celebrate whatever way feels best for you, whether you join a ritual or if you decide to do something that's a bit more your speed. Thank you all for watching. You have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.